great scene with Bolt.
I realize I'm not a young woman. However, could you please point out to our new costume designer, whose name I don't quite have.
Johnny Miller, Miss Tillman.
How do you do that? I don't feel quite right in a turban.
Okay.
What I feel like is Gloria fucking Swanson. What am I, 70, David? Am I 70? Why don't you just put me in a walker? Buy a goddamn walker and put me in it.
You're fired.
Oh, God.
I'm just kidding. Attention. No turbans for Miss Talbert.
All right. Welcome back, everybody.
Welcome back.
We're back with another quarantine edition of our lovely show.
Mm-hmm.
I hope you're ready for this one.
I am.
I am, too.
I love this movie.
It's a good one. It's a good one as always. Everybody out there listening, my name's Pete.
And I'm Scott. And these are the movies that made us gay.
Yay.
Welcome back.
Welcome back. Like I said, we're back from the void. From quarantine land. We've got another...
From the safety of our own apartment,
Yes,
we
indeed.
FaceTimed with returning guest
indeed.
Mark Rosenberg.
Yay.
Welcome back to the show, Mark. You did Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead with us last time.
I did, and Soapdish is one of my favorite movies of all time, so I'm glad that you
talked
asked me
about it
that.
a little bit, and yeah, you really wanted to do Soapdish.
It's so fucking good.
Mm-hmm. So how are you holding up, Mark?
Well, you know, I'm in hell, currently in New York City, which has turned into a living nightmare.
Oh,
Like
boy.
the epicenter of all of this.
Yeah, it's really sad that, you know, it's so bad here, and it's really scary, and, you know, I'm glad to be quarantined and doing my part, but I will say, you know, if other people are quarantined, this is a wonderful movie to watch. It's just
Yes.
so fun, and just really takes your mind off of everything. 'Cause it's
An
so
escapist
fucking
delight.
ridiculous.
I'm glad that you had us watch this movie. It's so good.
And it's on
It
Amazon
is
Prime.
so good.
Mm-hmm. So it's interesting. I did not grow up on Soapdish. And I should also say Soapdish from 1981, directed by Michael Hoffman, written by Robert Harling. We just did Steel Magnolias. He wrote Steel Magnolias, and what else did he write? Oh, First Wives Club.
I mean, like the gay trifecta.
I
Wow.
mean, the fucking gay all-star right
yeah,
there.
that's pretty good. That's pretty good.
Released May 31st, 1991, starring an all-star cast.
Oh, my God.
This cast is insane. Sally Field, Elizabeth Shue, Whoopi Goldberg, Kevin Kline, Teri Hatcher, Kathy Najimy,
Robert Downey Jr.
Robert Downey Jr. This is like a pre-Chaplin Robert Downey Jr. too, so he was just starting to really like take off at this time.
As
it was
like a series.
pre-Chaplin, post Chances Are.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, jeez.
So, yeah, like I was saying before, I did not grow up on this movie. I had not watched this movie until about a year and a half ago.
Wow.
Our friend Moran, who did our Baby Boom episode, invited me over, and we did a double feature of Soapdish and Who's That Girl with Madonna. And I had never seen either of them. And yeah, I fucking loved it. It's so good.
It's so good. And I'm like, I love Sally Field.
Yeah.
I think and I love Kevin. Kevin Kline is so fucking funny in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
I swear to God, they both should have been Oscar noms. I don't know who was nominated for an Oscar. They're teaching a literal masterclass in comedy.
I
true.
believe
They
that
are
Kevin
so
Kline.
funny.
I believe
True.
that Kevin Kline was just Globe nominated.
Well, he should have won a fucking Oscar.
Yeah, and
because
it's
you
kind
know
of a
what?
bummer,
I think it was that awful year that like Clint Eastwood won a bunch of Oscars.
Oh well,
or Kevin
this
Costner.
is 91, so this is the Sounds of the Lambs year. This is Sounds
All
of the
right,
Lambs
all right, I
and Beauty and
take
the
it back.
Beast.
Ah, okay.
But it's not the type of movie that usually awards give anything to. They're just sort of just really great comedic performances by the entire cast.
yeah.
Like everyone, there's not a weak link.
Everyone's
in the
on their
cast.
A game in this
Yeah.
movie.
Even I think Teri Hatcher's hair definitely deserves some awards.
Yeah, and that actually looked like they teased out that bitch's hair too.
Especially at the end.
Oh my
It's
God.
like the size of Jupiter.
It's so huge. There's some points though in the movie where Teri Hatcher's hair is like she's giving me like Edward Scissorhands. Like it's so all over the place because it's just big and huge and like
Would she have
bulbous.
just been coming
Love
off of
Nothing. It was Teri Hatcher.
She was in that movie with Kurt Russell and Sly Stallone.
Tango and Cash.
Tango and Cash.
Oh, geez.
Holy shit.
She played the stripper sister of Stallone in that movie.
Okay.
So she was kind of like an ingenue that was starting to come up.
Sure.
This would have been a big deal for her.
She's just about to get Lois and Clark. She'll have a good TV gig for a few years right after this. Mark, what is your history with this movie?
What isn't my history with this movie? I watched this movie so many motherfucking times that when I was watching it again today, I was like watching it and looking at my phone and just reciting every single line. I loved this movie when I was little because I loved daytime soap opera. And so this was just right. You got it produced by Aaron Spelling, the fucking grandfather of like all nighttime soaps. It had my name written all over it from the get-go.
For sure.
You know, I think I've heard that she's supposed to be like Susan Lucci.
Oh, sure.
Right.
It's a very Susan Lucci type, but that said, she wins at the very beginning. And she has multiple daytime, like, what do they call it? It's not a daytime Emmy, but it's a
daytime TV
daytime television award.
Television award.
Having said that, circling back to Susan Lucci, if you are feeling low during this pandemic, her 1999 acceptance speech of the daytime Emmys will snap you right the fuck out of it because it is wonderful.
Is that her first win?
Yeah.
It's her only win.
Her
She
only win.
won.
We'll post a clip of it. It's really good.
It is awe-inspiring.
I remember, Mark, tell me if you remember this. During the Emmy broadcasts, she had sponsorships. And I remember specifically this one year that she got a commercial for Equal, like the sweetener Equal.
Holy shit.
And they did one right before her award. And then after she didn't win, it was her like throwing a tantrum in this Equal commercial.
That's amazing.
And I was talking to my mom about it, and I was like, what the hell? And she's like, yeah, like they did two just in case she won one, and then if she didn't, and it's like the running joke. And so, you know, they immediately cut to this Equal commercial with Susan Lucci, you know, throwing this tantrum, 11 years and I still haven't won. And sitting there watching the daytime Emmys with my mother at 12 years old.
Now your mom
was thing ever.
Now your mom was an All My Children fan, right?
Melinda has been an All My Children fan since the jump. She grew up with Susan Lucci. Erica Kane started off as a teenager on All My Children in high school.
Of course.
Yeah. And we just followed her through her illustrious career, her multiple marriages. I think she eventually got like a daytime talk show.
Of course,
Erica, right? And so my mom had been a fan since the very beginning, and so if I ever did, was ever home or during the summers, I would watch. And I remember watching Sarah Michelle Gellar.
Oh God, yeah, she won a daytime Emmy.
The daughter, she won a daytime Emmy. Yep. What was it? What was her daughter's name that Sarah Michelle Gellar? Kendall, yes, and she eventually got recast, and I was not happy with that.
Oh my God! Second Kendall was so good, though. She was so good.
And she lasts way longer than.
Do you know who she was played by?
I don't remember.
Alicia Minshew.
Oh well, there you go.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
I knew that you would know.
Don't even start with All My Children trivia, because if you want to just turn this podcast into what Mark knows about All My Children and One Life to Live, we will literally fucking be here for 48 hours.
I love it.
I love it. I remember watching a little bit of All My Children. I have very limited soaps that I grew up on. It was mainly whatever was on TV when I would go home at lunch in high school.
Right.
But my soap that I probably was the most familiar with, of course, was Passions.
Oh, well, Passions.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that show was a little too bananas for me.
Yeah. That had like the ventriloquist puppet boy that came to life.
Although I do remember watching a little bit of All My Children on Hulu towards the very, very end.
Oh,
well, they switched. So when they were canceled on ABC, they went online, but it was way before like we all, now we just watch everything on our computers.
Yeah.
But this was like 2013.
Mm-hmm.
Try getting old ladies to like watch something on a computer. They were like, I don't know how to do
Which
that.
is a shame because I feel like a show like All My Children would do really well streaming now.
Now it would do amazing.
Yeah.
Listen, you know what? I'm constantly praying to the Lord that they bring back all my children in One Life to Live. I really, my life has not been the same. I know it's so pathetic. I watched fucking One Life to Live for 20 years.
That's amazing.
Now, I mean, it was it's just, everyone takes that style of acting and storytelling for granted. But if you like Scandal, if you like Game of Thrones, they're all just fucking soap operas with bigger budgets. So don't make fun of me for watching One Life to Live.
So what are the last soap standings now? Is it Days of Our Lives and General Hospital?
And Young and the Restless and Bold and Beautiful. But we don't watch CBS soaps in this house because we're not trash.
What was Kelly Ripa's character?
Haley.
I remember when Haley and Mark Consuelos and Haley and
Haley and Mateo. I just rewatched their wedding. It's on YouTube.
Oh, that's amazing.
What happened was, now, which did you believe? Fucking Haley and Mateo are trying to get ready to get married. Haley's drunk mother, Arlene, who was always starting shit. They were like, we got to make sure Arlene doesn't bust up the wedding. And then wouldn't you know, fucking Adam and Arlene walk in at the end and surprise, they got married again. It was wonderful. I love Kelly Rip. I love all my children.
Remember Adam's developmentally challenged twin brother?
Stuart! I loved Stuart. He died.
I know. That was sad. Canary was his last name? Canary?
David Canary. Yeah. 5-time Emmy Award winner, David Canary.
He was old
you
want
to just keep going?
Okay, so what is the name of the fictional soap in Soapdish? Something about a sunset.
Oh, The Sun Also Sets.
The Sun Also Sets.
I love all of the sets for The Sun Also Sets because, of course, it's all done at Magic Hour.
Yes.
Every single set has this beachfront view, including the hospital room, which I think is so funny. That this hospital has this sun deck.
So, do you think it was just a note from producers, or maybe it was just written into the script that this soap was live?
Well, no, because it's only live at the very end.
Oh, it's just that one scene. That one.
Yeah.
Okay. The big shocker
because
with the
Lisa
brain.
Gibbons leaks everything from the set.
Lisa.
I mean, wouldn't a Lisa Gibbons come back in 2020 be something else?
Do you remember her talk show? I used to love her talk show.
Oh my God, Lisa? Yeah.
Yeah.
I love daytime television.
Yes, indeed. So, okay. So, I have some questions about the age range of some of these actors in this movie. Sally?
Okay, well, see, now, this is the thing about soap operas.
Yes.
You have to suspend belief. Because I think Sally Fields is 40.
Right. Now, she specifically says that she's 41 in the movie, which I buy. She reads 41. I buy it.
Yeah.
Cathy Moriarty, on the other hand, claims very loudly, very early in the movie, that she is 28.
Yeah, but see, what we forget when we watch these movies from the early 90s and the 80s is that everyone looked 40.
Yes, this is also true.
Nobody looks their age anymore.
Yeah.
Because we've all had Botox and plastic surgery, myself included. So, you don't ever really know how old anyone is.
Sure.
Whereas, back in, 1991...
Sure.
25-year-old women look like 60.
Sure. And Cathy Moriarty just has that kind of look about her. She's got the voice. It's this whole package with her that she's just this vampy, femme fatale kind of .
But the other part of it is that, in soap opera, especially daytime soap operas, you suspend your belief. Right. Things that make sense, a 41-year-old having a 28-year-old daughter, that only makes sense on a soap opera.
Right.
And it only also makes sense that she's been hanging around you for 4 years and you just literally discovered.
Yeah.
Oh, right. That only happens in daytime television. Which is why it's wonderful.
This is true. I love the character of Montana Moorhead.
Her name is Montana. That's so sexy.
I love her.
She's amazing.
Yeah, I love Teri Hatcher.
So I remember when I was a kid and watching Cathy Moriarty, of course, in Casper with Christina Ricci, and Cathy Moriarty is is the villain in that movie, but I remember as a kid just thinking she was so stunning. Like she was just this bombshell with this blonde bob, and she just had that sexy voice. I was obsessed with her.
Yeah.
Yeah, she and like Kathleen Turner always sound like they just smoked a carton of cigarettes.
Yes, indeed. But that was like a sexy woman, like in the 80s.
Yeah.
In the 80s, that was like the height of like, you know, these vamps. That's so interesting. Elizabeth Shue playing 21.
I believe it because she just did Adventures in Babysitting a couple years before that.
Yeah.
And Elizabeth Shue always had she always sort of looked 25 even when she was 18. Too.
Again, but again, that goes back to that.
That was just the period.
Everybody looked old.
Yes, yeah.
And also, we should mention Elizabeth Shue's brother was on
Andrew Shue from
Melrose Place. Now,
Place.
was he written off of Melrose Place because he was too big of a pain in the ass?
No, he quit.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
I just assumed that they just wrote him off.
No, around season 5 and 6, all the original cast members kind of jumped ship because it just wasn't good anymore.
Well, Billy was so boring.
But he was so cute.
Yeah. He had that like soccer bod where he was just like shredded.
Yeah, but then after Allison left, they paired him with Samantha, who was so motherfucking boring. And then her dad got drunk and ran over Sydney at her wedding. Like, who the hell has the time for that shit?
Yeah, I just always found Billy just boring as hell. He was just a little too like dry white toast for me. I miss Jake.
I was always a Grant Show girl.
Yeah. You know, Grant Show can still fucking get it.
Oh my God.
I mean, he still regularly works. Wasn't he just on Dynasty?
Dynasty is still on.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it's still on Dynasty.
Wow. Yeah, he doesn't touch the original, but it's fun.
That's cool.
Sure.
The Celeste's character's husband in the movie, Bolt.
Yes.
I love a good dumb, a dumb beefy guy from like an 80s movie.
And he was in Soaps, wasn't he?
He was on Santa Barbara.
Santa Barbara. I feel like he had a little short run on 90210 when they went to college.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
I'm sure that Kelly fucked him.
I just remember
In the
You are
college years.
absolutely correct. He was on 90210.
Yeah. Paul Johansson. I just remember that. He's had a very like nighttime soap opera guy face.
Mm-hmm.
I remember that.
Nothing wrong with that.
No, not at all. I am sad that Carrie Fisher is in one scene.
Yeah.
But it's a magical scene.
Such a good scene.
It's a great scene.
And her name in the movie is Betsy Faye Sharon.
Oh my God, her name is crazy.
Which is enough for me.
That's gonna
honestly.
be like my witness protection name.
Betsy Faye Sharon pulling up her panties.
Yeah, but like, you know that you have a fucking all-star cast when you can't squeeze Carrie Fisher into more than 2 scenes.
Yeah, totally.
And I'm sure that she probably just did it at the last minute as a favor for someone.
Maybe.
Like she ran into Sally Field, like getting a cup of coffee somewhere, and Sally was just like, "Oh, we just had this person just drop out. You should just swing by for the afternoon, and we can squeeze your scenes in."
And why not?
Possibly.
Yeah.
We need somebody to play Betsy Faye Sharon. We also have, we haven't even talked about Whoopi.
Who is, again, at her fucking most comic delight in this movie.
So she
is so good.
She would have just been coming off of her Oscar win. Her Oscar win is in 1990 or early 91. And this movie came out in May, so she would have just won the Academy Award. I also have to say, Whoopi is kind of smoking hot in this movie, too.
Yes, she really is.
Yeah.
And I know this is going to be very controversial, but I don't think that she should have won for Ghost.
What? Well, Mark.
She's much better in The Color Purple.
Who are you? Were you just more of a Mary McDonald fan from Dances with Wolves?
Oh, God, no. That movie is so boring. And then, you know what? You talk about, like, Soapdish isn't, Oscar material. I guess we'd have to be bored for fucking 3.5 hours in a dark movie theater by ourselves if we want to see something that's Oscar-worthy.
Oh, man.
Please give me a break.
I believe Annette Bening was also nominated for The Grifters with Whoopi.
Well, it should have been Sally Field and Soapdish.
There you go.
Sure.
I, to this day, have yet to see Dances with Wolves, and I'm okay with that.
It's so boring.
I've made peace that I've not seen that movie, and I'm totally fine with it.
I like Dances with Wolves.
So Whoopi's character's name is Rose Schwartz, and is she playing this character a little bit extra New York? I hear it a little bit in her like enunciation.
Yeah, but she gets into that on The View still.
This is true.
So I think it's just part of her.
Yeah.
Who she I mean, she is a legend. And EGOTs.
Yeah.
Okay?
We were just watching Jumping Jack Flash the other night.
And you know what? EGOTs are not easy to get.
No, not at all.
And not everybody has that. So let's not forget, Whoopi Goldberg is a legend.
Yes, indeed.
And she is, I mean, honestly, she's like, she's Sally Field's straight man in this. Because Sally Field is fucking whack job.
Yeah.
And she's so fucking funny. I mean, every line she utters to me is just hilarious.
Yeah. I'm interested to know if this character was written with a different type in mind and somebody just threw her name in and they were like, wow, that would be great because Whoopi can kind of play anything almost. Do you know what I mean?
Don't know.
Like, I feel like the character could have been a man. It could have been white. It could have been, it could have been so all over the place, but she just came in, did her thing, and it was just like, oh, perfect. Yeah, this character's Whoopi.
Yeah.
I feel like that character in particular almost could have gone in a number of different directions, but she's just so good at what she does there. This is the era of Kevin Kline where he's like, he looks like your friend's dad, but he also takes his shirt off every now and then, and you're just like,
damn, Dan Kevin Kline.
Yeah.
It's the sexiest era of Kevin Kline.
Well, I mean, isn't he married to Phoebe Cates?
Yes, indeed.
Yeah, you don't get married to Phoebe Cates looking like a schlub.
This is true.
And they've been married for like 30 years.
Oh yeah, she's fully retired just to be like Kevin Kline's wife. They've been married like forever. I feel like if I close my eyes in this movie, I get a little Steve Martin, just in his voice.
I've seen Kevin Kline, 3-time Tony Award winner, 1-time Oscar winner.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen him perform live in theater, and he is. I mean, his comic timing is up there with Steve Martin. He is a genius when it comes to roles like the one that he played in Soapdish. There are very, very, very few actors who can just be that naturally funny.
Yeah,
I mean, he's fucking hilarious.
Yeah. Every time he has to tell that like stagehand, "Don't call me Loman."
And the whole thing about the one-man Hamlet, that makes no fucking sense.
And just his brilliant comic timing when there's the old couple that the old lady spills her coffee, and he, without missing a beat when doing Death of the Salesman, walks over and starts like
bussing her table. That's
so good, and it's so funny.
Yeah.
But the thing is that, like, when they're shooting the soap scenes in the movie, he nails being a soap actor so well. It's hysterical because the dialogue is just ridiculous. And they all do those looks.
Yeah.
Those, like, soap opera looks. And he's just, I love him so much. I think he's so fucking funny.
Yeah, he is. He's great. And he's easy on the eyes. I really enjoyed, I remember as a younger person really enjoying A Fish Called Wanda, but I haven't seen it in so long, and I feel like I
haven't
really
either.
need to revisit.
Do you know I've never seen A Fish Called Wanda?
I mean, it's got great people in it. It's
Yeah.
got Jamie Lee Curtis, like all the Monty Python people. We should revisit that.
We will.
Maybe we'll do it for
Yeah,
the
it's
podcast.
very funny.
Yeah, Kevin Kline kind of nails every scene that he's in. I mean, there's a lot going on in this storyline. Do we want to just kind of introduce specifically what's happening? We haven't even talked about
So they set up Celeste
movie.
winning this award, and she goes back to her apartment. It's her apartment, right? Because she puts her award down on the table, and her boyfriend, who's married, right?
Yeah, he's going back to his
He
family.
walks out on her.
Yes,
and it
In Pittsburgh.
kind of sends Celeste into this downward spiral. Meanwhile, Robert Downey Jr. and Cathy Moriarty are plotting against her to sort of overthrow her reign on the show.
As like the main character of
and they're going to push
the show.
Montana. What's Montana's last name?
Moorhead.
Montana Moorhead
as like the lead. And they're going to sort of somehow write her off the show. So there's going to be this coup on the soap.
Sure.
Right, so they're planning to make her, like, awful, so that no one would want to see her on the show anymore.
And it kind of works that this is a straight-up plot that you would probably see in a soap opera.
Exactly, that's why
they recreated it in the script, which is super clever.
Yeah.
You know what else is also rings true about this? Specifically for All My Children, shot in New York.
Yeah?
Yeah, none of the soaps shoot in New York anymore.
Yeah.
All My Children and One Life to Live used to,
Yep.
but after they were canceled, they left.
Yeah. But yeah, they just specifically decided to make this shoot out of New York City as opposed to like LA, where I feel like a lot of them did, but those two specifically were like stayed in New York.
They were signature New York shows.
Well, now here's a little soap opera trivia for you.
Sure.
They all filmed in New York at first.
Sure.
Because they were on radio.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And the radio stations were all based in New York City.
Right.
So they didn't move out to the West Coast until like the 60s.
Right.
Like As the World Turns and Guiding Light, they filmed here in New York, and Another World filmed here in New York. Most of them did for the longest time. So in the 90s, that would have made complete sense.
Right, right. Yeah, I always remember seeing Susan Lucci would do like Regis and Kathy Lee and stuff.
Oh,
and
because she's very dear friends with Regis.
Oh, yes. La Lucci!
Yeah.
I always remember.
Mark, do you remember when Rosie O'Donnell did All My Children? Because she was a big super fan of All My Children and Susan Lucci.
Absolutely, and so did Carol Burnett.
And I believe that she was a maid. Mm-hmm. And they wrote this little bit scene. And I remember she used to pretty much devote a whole block of her show to Susan Lucci. Like, she pretty much treated
Oprah.
her...
Oh, yeah.
She pretty much treated her
right.
like Barbara Streisand whenever she would go on.
As she deserves to be treated.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, let's get down to brass tacks here. Legends are legends are legends. What are you going to do?
This is true. I remember seeing Susan Lucci on like talk shows and things and just being like, oh, she's so teeny. She's just a tiny,
oh my God, I've met her
little
in person,
lady.
which was the best day of my entire life.
Wow.
What were the circumstances that you met her?
A bus was being christened in her name, and I won a contest.
That's something that
rode the
would
bus
be
with
on an
Susan
episode of
Lucci.
Sex in the City or something. That's amazing.
But she
my
was
God.
so gracious. You know, I dedicated my first book to her, and
Oh, I
gave her a
remember that.
copy. And she was
You
like,
did do
"This
that.
is like
I remember that.
just one of the most incredibly gracious people. She was just very sweet. And I had actually written, when I was writing for Huffington Post, I had written an article about Devious Maids because it had just came out and she was starring on that.
Right.
And it was like, 10 reasons to watch Devious Maids. Obviously, number one was Susan Lucci's on it. So when she saw that, she printed it out and put it on her refrigerator. She's like, oh my God, I didn't know you wrote that. And I was like, yeah, that was me.
Oh, wow. I love that.
I was like, bitch, I've been obsessed with you since I was 8 years old.
I love that. That's really cool. That's really cool. My mother would go to Super Soap Weekend here at
Oh my God.
Disneyland.
So your mom was like a true ABC
Yes,
soap
indeed. I don't think Susan Lucci ever went to that, but she
sure as hell did.
No.
She went every
Oh,
single
did she?
year.
Oh, cool. Okay.
I think they were like contractually obligated.
Right?
To go.
Yeah, they probably had to. Yeah, ABC had their big like soap con at Disneyland in downtown Disney here. And they had it every year.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. And you can go and like stand in line and meet all your favorite soap stars.
It's like meeting the Disney princesses, but you're lining up for all the soap stars.
Yes, indeed. Just ABC soaps.
Sure.
The good ones.
CBS is trash. NBC's all right.
I mean, yeah, NBC's all right.
And General Hospital is NBC?
No, ABC.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we like General Hospital. It's not as good as the other two, but
Days
it's something.
Days is NBC.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Days is weird. I never got into it.
I liked Days for a little while. When Marlena was possessed by the devil, I did cheat on Lucci. Just because that was like so bizarre, and I was like 9 years old, and I was like, I feel like I should be watching this because people are going to be talking about this forever. And I was right.
That. Yeah,
our friend Pete Tenuta, shout out to Pete if you're listening. He always posts stills from Days of Our Lives and what's currently happening, and just
in Salem,
and just the craziness that's going down on Days right now.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? We're all stuck in fucking side.
I know.
Now's a great time to, check back into General Hospital.
Watch those soaps.
See what's going on in Salem over at Days of Our Lives. Don't even fucking bother watching Young and the Restless because it's trash. But Days in General Hospital are good.
I love when a famous celebrity, when they started on a soap, they'll go back to it.
Oh,
like, do you remember?
Oh my God, Nathan Fillion used to go back to One Life to Live all the time.
I remember
amazing.
when... As the World Turns was ending, Julianne Moore went back on in like 2005.
Did she really?
She did. And I think that she played the same character.
Good for her. She was on that show for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember when Natalie fell down the well or got thrown down the well on All My Children?
Yeah, of course.
And they threw snacks down there to keep her alive, but they gave her like jerky and stuff, and she was just getting dehydrated. She needed water.
I think she was nominated for an Emmy that year. She was fucking great.
Yeah. I remember the Natalie in the Well storyline. I think that was a summer story because I watched the whole thing.
Yeah, they turn up the heat in the summer.
Yeah.
Well, that's when all the young people are watching, so they have to add all of the storylines that would attract the younger viewers.
But then like later in the 90s, they'd be like, oh, my 14-year-old cousin Danielle is coming to visit, and then you have to deal with fucking Danielle and her stupid friends, and you're like, I don't even care about them. Just put on fucking Erica Kane. That's what I came for.
Yeah,
that's what I pay my cable bill for.
Yeah, when they would bring in like weirdo teens, you're just like, who fucking cares? Like,
or like all of a sudden, like Colby was like 20.
Oh my God!
I was like, bitch, you were born last year. I didn't care about you then, and I don't care about you now.
Yeah, totally. I love the soap in Soapdish because there are like 4 characters.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? They talk about other people a lot.
That's true.
Like there are a lot of people that you just don't see so much. But it's the way that they do it. I mean, the way that they do everything in the movie is just it's not only so funny, but it's so like true to soap operas.
Definitely.
That I think like if you ever enjoyed watching soap operas, you can't help but love this movie.
Yeah.
And it's kind of clever what Robert Harling does with the script, that you can tell that the people that made this movie are very familiar with TV production, because there's always the back and forth that they have with the network head, Gary Marshall. Gary Marshall pretty much playing the same character as he is in Never Been Kissed.
In every movie.
And League of Their Own.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, League of Their Own. Every movie. Gary Marshall just plays Gary Marshall type in everything. He's just always at the head of a long boardroom table screaming at subordinates. I mean, it's funny. He does it well. Mm-hmm. But it's well-worn territory for him.
Yeah. And, his friends at the tennis club were calling it The Sun Also Sucks.
Oh, man. This is also, we totally forgot about her, very early appearance from Cathy and Jimmy.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Is it one of her earlier roles?
I mean, I think so. Because she made Hocus Pocus she made Hocus Pocus in 93. When did Veronica's Closet come on?
Oh.
Probably 94, 95?
That was late 90s.
Yeah.
I remember
Apparently
Veronica's
we hate Kirstie Alley now, too.
Oh, man.
Shame.
Besides Scientology stuff, or is it new stuff?
I think new stuff.
Oh, man.
Remember when we could just like people?
I mean...
Before everything was trash.
I know.
You know who's never let us down? Sally fucking Field.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and this is one of those go for broke Sally Field performances that she's just giving it everything.
Yes.
In this role.
And I'm telling you, I want a retroactive fucking Oscar nomination for her. She is beyond hilarious in this movie. Mm-hmm. She's so good. You know that David clip you played at the beginning? One time, this guy named David had asked me out on a date. And I I sent the audio of that back to him, and it was just David. He's like, "What is that?" I was like, "I'm not going out with you."
I love that. So much of her delivery, or a lot of her lines in this are either on the verge of tears, crying, and I feel like a lesser actress, it could get annoying, but I think she's just so good at what she does that you're just in it with her.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because it's like she and Kevin Kline, I think most of all, get it.
Yeah.
I think they just sat down and watched hours of daytime television, and they were like, okay, we got this.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I have a little bit of Sally Field in the big reveal. Should we wait to talk about the big reveal?
I mean, you can just play now.
Just because it's a big Sally moment.
Oh, this is ridiculous. I can kiss who I want. No! You can't! You can't kiss her!
Why? Because she's your niece?
No, you nitwit! Because she's my daughter! And your daughter!
What are you talking about?
We're her parents! You and I! We're her mommy and her daddy. It was our fourth date. Summer 1970, Shakespeare in the Park, a bottle of Chardonnay. All's well that ends well.
I can run to Texas and back, but my daughter can't.
Is there any
this
better
is definitely up there.
Is there any better of a movie crier than Sally Field?
She's good at
No.
crier.
And this
So
is
good.
honestly the best part of the movie, because this is when the soap opera becomes the soap opera.
Yes.
Right.
She created a fake sister named Simone and killed her off in a car accident. I mean, come on.
We get the return of the long lost daughter.
Yep.
That's she assumed that the audience thinks that it's her niece, right?
Yes.
Yep. Straight up something that you'd see in a soap opera.
From her sister.
And we forgot when Robert Downey Jr. goes to get Rod Randall from dinner theater in Florida, and Whoopi Goldberg finds out about it, and she comes in, she's like, how am I supposed to write with a man without a head? He's got no vocal cords. He's got no face. How am I supposed to write? I mean, because that's just the type of shit that happens on soap operas.
Yes.
You literally see someone die.
Yeah.
And then 20 years later, they're like, oh, JK.
Yeah. I know that car exploded, but he jumped out at the last minute.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Which is totally believable.
Yeah, of course.
And then the scene that you just played where Sally Field is basically unraveling.
Yeah.
It's brilliant. Brilliant. Put that on her reel.
She had...
And the soap opera becomes the soap opera.
Yes.
And that's what makes the movie so great, is that it's just so absolutely ridiculous. And she just does it to perfection.
Yes.
There's no one else I could ever see playing that role, because she's so effing good in it.
So the network executives kind of see this breakdown, and that's when they're kind of like, okay, we're going to kind of revitalize the show, right?
Well, right, because now Montana Moorhead pretends to be pregnant with Kevin Kline's baby.
Oh, right.
And then right as he and Sally Field are rekindling, she is like, fuck this shit. Either they go or I go. And then Elizabeth Shue and Kevin Kline do the same. And of course, in the back of my mind, I'm like, Kevin Kline and Elizabeth Shue have been on the show for 2 episodes. Yeah. How the fuck are they going to fire the one who's been on there for 20 years?
Yeah, they both kind of jumped in.
And they decide to do the live episode, which soap stopped doing in the 70s.
Right.
Which is actually kind of unrealistic that none of them would know their lines. But whatever, it's still so good. And then they go to the Chinese food restaurant. But there's so many parts that I'm forgetting that I love. One of my favorite scenes in this movie, there are two. One is when Elizabeth Shue, when she finds out that Elizabeth Shue's working on the show, Sally Field doesn't know. Mm-hmm. And then she's surprised, and she they run out, and she's like, what are you doing here? Why didn't you tell me that you were coming? And where are you staying? And Elizabeth Shue goes, I'm staying at the Mayflower Hotel. And Sally Field goes, there's no such place. And then all the people come up to get her autograph. And she's like bickering with Elizabeth Shue. And she's like, hello, I'm trying to have a life here. And the woman's like, who wants her autograph is like, but I love you. And Sally Field just turns like spot on and is
Thank
like,
you.
I love you too. Every single time makes me laugh out loud. Because it's so, it's such a small part of the movie.
Yeah.
And then my second favorite moment, besides her like nervous breakdown, is when she's like walking with Whoopi Goldberg, and Whoopi Goldberg gets to go flowers, and she stands in front of the bus, and she's like, "Tell the twins I love them." And the bus driver stops, and he's like, "Oh my God, it's Celeste from The Sun Also Sets." Like she can't even kill herself. It's so funny.
And I love that this is an actress and a woman that, to make her feel better about herself, she goes to the mall and just gets recognized by fans. I love that character note.
Oh my God, because that's what's so... we're talking about going to Disneyland to see Susan Lucci.
Yeah, that's what they live for. I love it.
Yeah, it's pretty close to reality.
Yeah. I love though Whoopi as Rose, just like, is that you look just like, what's your name? And just like inciting the crowd to just be
yeah, and she's like, what's your name? Latrice.
Latrice.
She's like, okay,
yes.
you can go now.
Yeah, I feel like, let's just say I saw a soap opera star at the mall.
I would pounce them.
Well,
I can't remember what soap star used to come into TJ's in Pasadena, but I feel like he had to stop coming because women would like swarm him.
Really?
I'll have to find out who it was. But yeah, we used to have a soap star that used to shop there.
Yeah, I feel like soap stars were like the last of the celebrities that would get mobbed. Mm-hmm. Just like,
I don't know about that, because when I lived in LA, I used to see people all the time. And the only time I ever like gasped was when I saw Jax from General Hospital.
No, but that's what I'm saying. If we see celebrities at the grocery store, it's just kind of like, oh, look who it is. Like they shop here too. But soap stars often tell stories about getting slapped in the grocery store, and just people coming up to them, and
it's 5 times a week.
Yeah,
that you're sharing your life with someone. And you become very invested in their lives.
Yeah. Isn't that wild that it's every day? It's 5 days a week. That's
They're the hardest working people in show business, and they get no credit for it.
That's insane.
I still stand by that. That is the hardest. It is the hardest acting work. It's the hardest directing work.
That's a lot of lines to learn.
They get shit on all the time.
Yeah.
And they work 10 times harder than every lazy fucking actor in LA.
And I'm assuming you would probably know this, that they have to do those scenes like a play because they have to shoot them from various angles because the schedule is so rigorous. They just have to do the scene from beginning to end and set up multiple cameras.
And they usually only have one take.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, while, Princess, whatever the fuck her name is, who's like sitting in a trailer for 12 hours and then gets paid $1 million to utter a line and then complains about how hard her work is, go fuck yourself.
How dare you talk about Megan that way?
Oh my God, do you want to talk about Days of Our Lives? Where are we going with this? Should I start my own? I really should start a fucking web series about just talking about One Life to Live from like 1978. I wasn't even born then.
I think people will listen. People will tune in.
It would be a fun podcast idea to pick a random soap from a decade and just watch an episode of it. It might be kind of hard to find, though.
I think people would tune in.
Mm-hmm.
I'm
sure that there is like probably pirated episodes of any soap from any decade that you can find online.
They're all on YouTube.
Yep.
There's the video of what is it? What is that clip of Erica? Like, is she like yelling at a bear?
Oh God, classic.
She like shames a bear into like leaving them alone. She's like,
maybe we should just turn this into like the Susan Lucci like appreciation hour, because I could just keep going about things that I fucking love about that woman.
I'm okay with that.
I'm okay with that.
I have no problem.
I remember when she finally won the Emmy and she won on Rosie, and it was just like, It was as if like Judy Garland had somehow won the Oscar
like a ticker
from
tape
beyond
parade.
from beyond the grave. Like it was that big of a deal.
I mean, the woman was a fucking punchline for 20 years.
Yeah.
I mean,
That's why I always say, you know, poor Amy Adams doesn't have an Oscar. I'd rather be the Susan Lucci of something than like Marlee Matlin.
Yeah.
Right. Win once and then
Who gives a shit?
Yeah.
I have a theory with Amy Adams that she's gonna her Oscar career is gonna go by the way of Shirley MacLaine. Shirley MacLaine like was nominated for over 30 years, and then she finally won for Terms of Endearment, and then she was out, and she was never back.
Do you guys want to know a bad movie to watch in quarantine?
Yes.
Terms of Endearment.
Bad movie.
Oh my god, it's so sad.
No, I feel like
movie,
I feel like the bad movie should probably be The Evening Star.
The Evening Star.
I watched both of them last week.
Oh my god.
I was like, God, I just like depressed myself even more.
Yeah. I mean, does The Evening Star even like come close? Does it compare at all to?
It's not as good.
Yeah.
But you know what
way,
The Evening Star has in it though is Scott Wolf in those
Tidy whities.
briefs.
Yes. And it's, you know, Shirley MacLaine is amazing in it.
Sure.
Marion Ross is wonderful in it. The cast is great and Jack Nicholson comes back, but it's not as good.
Yeah.
It's you know, Terms of Endearment was like one of those like lightning in a bottle.
Oh
like,
yeah.
you know, they tried to replicate it a million times after that and it just never worked.
I remember when Shirley MacLaine was doing press for that movie, she refused to call it a sequel. She said another chapter.
Well, it was a book.
Yep.
I don't know why I know. God, I know so much shit about gay movies.
Well,
And
you're on the
soap
right
operas.
podcast.
So sad.
Hey, I mean, there's just something about Terms of Endearment, man.
We'll do a Terms
It's a good
episode eventually.
It's such a good movie.
It is a really good movie.
And
if you want another good movie that's also pretty gay, that's another good Mother's Day movie, is Imitation of Life.
I've never seen an Imitation of Life.
Oh my God. It is so fucking good. That's one of my top 5 movies, up there with Soapdish. It's Lana Turner,
Oh boy.
fucking John Gavin at his fucking hottest.
Oh no, we have seen Imitation of Life. We watched with Marlene, John Gavin from Psycho.
Sure.
And this is like the mixed race girl,
So good.
right? Yeah.
So good. Anyway, back to soap operas.
And the movie we're talking
What
about.
the fuck were we even talking? Oh, Soapdish.
Soapdish. So
Every time you guys have me on, it just goes on into a tangent about whatever is the opposite of what you asked me to talk about.
that's okay. I'll listen to this conversation over and over again. This is what the fans come to hear. Tangents.
I mean, we're talking about. I mean, we've been talking a lot of soaps, so we're sort of on the right track.
Okay. So, I mean, we're kind of all over the place with the movie. We're not really following like the linear path of this movie, but ultimately, you know, Elizabeth Shue is a secret love child of Sally Field and Kevin Kline. Kevin Kline's pissed at Sally Field because she got him fired, you know, so many years ago, but now he's back on the show. Elizabeth Shue, you almost feel like at the very beginning that it's going to be an All About Eve situation.
Definitely.
It's very, very, very similar.
You know, because
it has a lot of hallmarks of All About Eve.
Yeah. She comes in, she's playing a deaf mute, a homeless person, so she's just completely disheveled, covered in dirt and you know, mud the entire time. So
she's a homeless deaf mute, and then in the final scene, they throw her in a wheelchair for good measure.
Yeah. Yeah. But ultimately,
it's what the fans want.
Her character keeps, you know, growing and growing to the point where she has a scene herself that kind of mirrors the turban scene, where she comes out in a turban with the feather in it. And she looks like Tweety Bird.
And she looks like the goddamn Tweety Bird.
Yeah. I mean, a yellow turban with the yellow feather. Come on. Is this Cathy Najimy's doing? Cathy Najimy's character just has a boner for turbans in this movie.
I love when she's showing Sally all the wardrobe.
Yeah.
And she seems so stoked about all of it.
Yeah. That Celeste ultimately starts cutting up with scissors so she doesn't have to wear it. Is that some Faye Dunaway shit right there? Don't you hear stories about Faye Dunaway, like, destroying wardrobe that she wouldn't want to wear so she wouldn't have to wear it on set? Just like...
I mean, it probably happened.
Yeah.
But it's so funny when they're going through the clothes. Kathy and Jimmy is like, and I thought about this dress when the father accidentally shoots the Contessa. And they just, like, say it like it's just, like, normal speak.
Yeah.
Like, that's a normal... It's a normal sentence that would come out of a normal person's mouth, but it's so fucking ridiculous.
Those accidental
why
shootings.
would a priest shoot a Contessa by accident?
I love that Celeste's dressing room overlooks the entire set. Is that how those old dressing rooms used to be?
I have no idea.
Oh, no.
I mean, it looks fucking cool.
Yeah. That just seems very old Hollywood to be able to, like, have a big window to, like, overlook everything. Yeah, so I kind of feel like it's not necessarily like a dropped plot thread, but it's definitely, they're building up this, like, All About Eve situation.
But I like that they don't push that too far, though.
Right. Because we've got, like, bigger shit to handle, because it ultimately does come. Because that's why initially Celeste is so against Elizabeth Shue staying in New York and becoming an actress. At first you just think she's being, like, overprotective aunt, you know, my twin sister, your mother is dead, and, you know, I'm going to be protective of you or whatever. But ultimately it's because she's a secret love child of her and Kevin Kline. That's why she had him written off the show. You know, this crazy, like, larger than life story that is so much like a soap opera that ultimately, you know, the network brass comes in and it's just like, that's our show. Let's turn this shit around. Meanwhile, Robert Downey Jr. is still plotting, still trying to get Celeste. Is he trying to get her fired or just, like, her role
Yeah,
diminished?
because remember at the end, they do the live episode.
Right.
And so that's supposed to reveal, like, to everyone who the one person saying is, because they can't all three stay. Only one of them can stay.
And none of them. And the reason it's live is because they didn't even want to let them know who it was until they perform
So, I mean, if you want to talk about comedy at its finest, fucking none of them know their lines.
Yeah.
Kevin Kline is blind as a fucking bat.
Can't read the
and has to
teleprompter.
read the lines off of a teleprompter.
Yeah.
Gold.
Yeah.
Comic. Gold.
Yes.
Then they're all sitting at this table. He tells, you know, the crippled, deaf, mute, like whatever the hell else they decided she was, that she also has brain fever.
Brain fever.
And
I love when Sally yells out fever, brain fever.
Yeah. And they're going to have to operate on her at the Chinese food restaurant.
Yes.
Another classic line that we miss, and I always think is so funny, is when is at the very end when Kevin. It's not at the very end where Kevin Kline does. I took a doctor's oath, and fucking Montana Moorhead's like, "Well, I took a nurse's oath. I took an oath, a nurse's oath." And Sally Field's like, "What the fuck are you talking about?" It's so good.
Whoopi's...
So then they're going to operate on Elizabeth Shue, and Sally Field decides her to give her a brain.
Yes, brain transplant.
Sure. Yep.
And they're going to do it in the middle of a Chinese food restaurant,
Now,
which...
Now, they're making this up at this point. The actors,
Yeah,
right?
Because I think that what happens is Sally Field realizes that Elizabeth Shue is going to be killed off the show.
Right.
And then she gets a change of heart.
Okay. So then they start going off script and start coming up with this whole thing about the brain transplant. And all
and
of
then
that.
Nurse Nan shows up, and Gary Marshall's watching. Why is there a nurse in the restaurant?
Which is when we get this classic moment.
This is Dr. Franz Blau of the Sex Change Clinic in Bethesda, Maryland.
Thank you. Dr. Randall, after extensive investigation, I've come to the conclusion that it's virtually impossible for you to have impregnated your nurse, Montana Moorhead, because before she came to our little clinic, she was Milton Moorhead of Syosset, Long Island. Hello.
She's a boy.
I mean, it's totally like
she's a boy.
It's 1991, so we have to look over the fact that, like, you know, this shit would not fly today. But
No.
It's fucking hilarious. And when I was little, I'm from Maryland, so it's like, oh my god, they said Bethesda. Like, it was right the next town over.
That's
and I was
funny.
like, this is so exciting. But it's so, like, watching that as an adult, you know, the scene before then, Cathy Moriarty sitting in her dressing room, and she's surrounded by Wizard of Oz
Wizard of
shit.
Oz stuff. Yep.
And I never understood what that meant until I was an adult. And I'm like, God, the writers of Soapdish, just give them an Oscar.
I noticed at this time, upon this viewing, when she's in her dressing room, and I was like, look at all the Judy memorabilia they put in her dressing room.
But it makes perfect sense, because you're like, oh, she's a man. So now I don't understand. So I guess what she had a sex. Did they do those in 1991?
Oh yeah.
Well, I mean, yeah. Didn't you see the Danish girl?
The Danish girl was in like the 40s.
The Danish. The Danish girl was like in like the 30s.
Yeah.
You know, I pride myself as being a trans rights activist, so I'm sorry that I didn't know that.
Yeah, I think they were doing it at the time, and Cathy Moriarty's just shrieks. No.
Yeah, and their expressions, their reactions are like, what the fuck?
Oh my god!
But I could see, like, even now, like an old man like Gary Marshall being like, "She's a boy."
Yeah.
Like, that's so funny to me. And then Robert Downey Jr. is like, because you know he's trying to get into her pants the whole movie, and she won't do it.
Yep.
So she's like, now you know why.
Yeah. It's interesting that Robert Downey Jr.'s character is trying to like bone down with Cathy Moriarty the whole time, and she's like stopping it, but then she throws herself at Kevin Kline multiple times, and she's like, and we were naked, and he's like, we weren't naked.
Yeah.
Well, we should have been.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's because that like is such a soap opera thing too.
Oh, yeah,
like all
definitely.
of a sudden, like that actually was a plot point on All My Children.
Oh, wow.
When Zarf came to town and seduced Bianca, Erica Kane's lesbian daughter, he came as a boy, but he was really a boy in a girl's body. And so he transitioned, but was still a lesbian. It was very confusing at the time, because it was like way
What year was this?
Way ahead of its time.
That sounds like it.
It was 2004, I think.
Wow.
Okay.
And then, wouldn't you know, everyone at Fusion started dying, and everyone thought that Zarf was a serial killer because he was transgender. Turns out,
yes.
it was Alex Cambias's long-lost father. Terrible storyline. They killed Simone, and I hated that. Anyway.
I mean, Cathy Moriarty's character is, for all intents and purposes, the villain of this movie.
Right.
And so, like, it's a little problematic, but, you know.
I think it works because it's a soap setting.
Yes.
That it
So
sort
does.
of,
And
sort of diffuses
also,
it. That
you know,
it's
when you
silly.
watch-
Yeah.
We're so used to everything being canceled.
Yes.
But, like, in 1991, like, you just didn't know better.
Well, and also another like transphobic movie from 1991, Best Picture winner, Silence of the Lambs, too.
Right.
Oh, right.
Yep.
And she's not even killing anybody in
Yeah.
this movie. She's not making skin suits. She's just trying to claw her way to the top of
Which, you know what, girl? We've all been there.
I
Definitely.
mean, come on. I mean, give it up for, you know, Montana Moorhead, trans,
I
you
mean,
know,
she
woman.
looks pretty beautiful.
Yeah, and, you know, made it to, like, third lead in the soap opera, you know, so she's
Yeah, I know.
pretty
It's
good
funny
for herself.
because at the end, you know, she's stuck doing Death of a Salesman in Florida. But, like, today, she would be, like, regarded as a hero.
Yes. Oh, but we can't forget, though, that at the end, on the marquee at the dinner theater, she's back to Milton.
Right. I don't know how that works.
She went back to being a boy.
Oh.
I don't know how that works either, but
Yeah, I think if you had a
it's
sex
joke.
change, you're kind of done, right?
Yeah, I think it's just a joke. But yeah, so that's like the big gag at of that character. But again, yeah, I think it's funny. It works.
Supposed to be ludicrous.
It works for the soap
Yep.
opera-ness of the show. And Teri Hatcher's character, who is villainous.
I think we're supposed to like Teri Hatcher's character.
Yeah, because she's scheming with Montana most of the movie, but ultimately at the end, I mean, it is for...
She gets on the right side.
Yeah.
I honestly think I have watched this twice in the last week, and I watched it at a friend's a couple weeks ago before we were all, sequestered. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I think Teri Hatcher had a bigger part that they whittled down.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I could see that.
Because there was something else going on that they must have cut for time. Yeah. Because, I love an early 90s movie. They're all fucking 90 minutes long. Yes. In, you out. Mm-hmm. It's great. Like, nothing is better than a one-act play. Yeah. And I think that they probably just cut it for time. Because it seems to me like she had more going on. Yeah. And I remember on the DVD, she was, like, top billed. Mm-hmm.
And she's throughout. Like, she's in background. She's walking with Cathy Moriarty. She's there everywhere. And if it was this small of a character, like, you know what I mean? Like, she wouldn't have been needed as much. So you're probably right. There's probably
Mark,
a lot more.
What would you give to have all of those photos just decorating your apartment? Of those giant headshots?
Those big, like, glamour shots?
Yeah.
I'd probably pay top dollar. Like, if I could find them on eBay. But that's so, like, that's, again, like, they pay so much attention to detail. Yeah. Because that is so ABC Studios in the 90s.
Oh, my God, yeah. For sure.
And they did, when they walk out, they're at Lincoln Center, which is right where ABC filmed the soaps.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So, very true to detail. I got to tip my hat to the writers of Soapdish.
Old Robert Harling.
I know.
Mm-hmm.
Who's probably a big old fag.
I'm sure.
Be, right?
He's the writer of Steel Magnolias and First Wives Club.
How do you write these?
I mean, how can you not be?
You guys did First Wives Club already,
Not
right?
yet.
Not yet. We did Steel Magnolias.
How excited are you for all of them to reunite?
They're saving the American spirit.
I know.
They're gonna save 2020, you guys.
What's that?
Nothing's saving 2020, honey. I hate to break it to you.
What's that Meryl Streep line from The Hours? We stay alive for insert for Meryl, Goldie, and Diane.
No, it's Bet Goldie
to reunite.
And Diane.
Yep. Yeah. Bet. Yep.
I mean, I don't know when we're going back to the movies.
Right. This is true.
Well, but I will say,
it's all going on demand now.
I said this at the beginning. If you are stuck in your house and you want to take your mind off of the fucking hell that we're living in, watch Soapdish.
It's on Amazon Prime.
Mm-hmm.
It sure is.
You can stream it right now. That's what we did. I mean,
and you will laugh and just be entertained for 90 minutes straight.
Yes, indeed. There's a lot going on in this movie. There's a lot of plot. There's a lot of dialogue. It's quick. It's snappy,
And it's fun and silly, and the cast is great. You like everyone in the movie. Who the hell doesn't like Kevin Kline?
Yeah.
Who doesn't like Elizabeth Shue?
Yeah.
Communists. That's who. So if you hate America, don't watch Soapdish.
It's true. I mean, Sally Field is just like her face, her demeanor. She's just so good.
She is exquisite.
She's just so
and
good.
I will say again, for the final time, robbed of an Oscar nom for this.
I mean, best
I don't understand why every fucking boring ass performance of the last 30 years has been nominated for an Oscar.
Best Actress of 91 was super packed. That was the Thelma and Louise year, with both of them getting nominated. That was Jodie Foster winning. And
Susan Sarandon is horrible. But Gina Davis is great.
I think also like Bette Midler got in there for The Boys also.
All right, that's fair.
Mm-hmm.
So if you just swap out that awful, awful whore, Susan Sarandon, throw in Sally Field, American Sweetheart, everybody likes her.
Susan Sarandon's so good in Thelma and Louise, though.
She's an asshole in real life, though. So that kind of like makes it hard for me to watch classic films like The Banger Sisters that I used to like.
You're not down for her like Ping Pong Club or whatever the thing is she has?
I mean,
she's an asshole.
I mean, she's like the ultimate Bernie or bust supporter.
Yes, she's an asshole. She is an asshole. Don't get me started on my fucking hatred of Susan Sarandon.
We'll let her know when she's on the podcast next week. We were gonna.
She's gonna hear this.
We were gonna FaceTime with her.
I know. Who is this fag?
We were gonna have a nice discussion of the Banger Sisters.
What?
I said we were gonna have a nice discussion of the Banger Sisters.
I love the Banger Sisters, but I can never watch it again because Susan Sarandon is an awful bitch. Like, can you imagine? I can't watch Rocky Horror ever again. She's a cunt. Like, what am I supposed to do?
I don't know. You can watch that god-awful live production that they showed on Fox a few years ago.
Oh, I've totally, blanked that out of my memory.
It was not great.
It doesn't exist.
Yeah, it's pretty much a cursed production. I don't think it exists anywhere.
Well, what did you know? Speaking of musicals, they have been talking. Someone owns the rights to Soapdish, and it was supposed to star Kristen Chenoweth on Broadway.
I think that there was a stage adaptation of this. I don't know too much of it. I think it did make it to stage, but I don't think there was a big production of it, though.
I think they did a reading of it, and it never has gone. I mean, nothing's on Broadway right now, obviously. But
Kristen Chenoweth would be a really good Celeste.
I think it should just be Susan Lucci.
Sure.
Why
she
not?
Can sing.
Yeah.
Why not? She could do it.
Yeah,
it would be a really fun comeback for her too. I mean, does she really need a comeback though? Because she never went away.
She's like omnipresent. She's everywhere.
Yeah, I mean, but really though, does Susan Lucci have to work another day in her life? Probably not. But if
absolutely not. But
she would,
she's so beloved.
I like to think that Lucci has like a beautiful penthouse in Manhattan. Like
they live on Long Island. I'll tell you all about it.
Okay. I was gonna say like beachside property in Malibu.
I think she had an apartment here when they were filming, but she definitely lives on Long Island with Helmut, her husband.
Love it.
Who used to have the worst teeth, but somewhere between like the 90s and 2000s got them fixed. Thank God.
Oh, good.
And we almost lost her last year.
Oh,
she had a small heart attack, but she's doing well. I literally follow everything she does on Instagram.
Is she on Instagram?
We need to follow her on Instagram on her account.
Oh, she's great. The only two people who have gotten me through this quarantine are Susan Lucci and fucking Britney Spears. Because that bitch is a light, and she's like a fucking candle in the dark right now.
Oh my goodness. What is Britney reporting live from quarantine? I've got to
She's doing yoga. She's painting.
Hey, y'all.
Hey, y'all. It's Britney here. I just wanted to show off my painting.
I mean, she's really a candle in the dark.
Stay inside. Wow. How does Susan Lucci only have 123,000 followers on Instagram? It should be more.
Because I think her demographic skews a little older. And they don't really use Instagram.
They're all on the Facebook.
That makes
sense.
That's
why.
Yeah.
They're all on Facebook ruining America.
Yeah,
the rest of us are on Instagram liking Britney Spears' pictures.
Is Susan Lucci verified? Does she have a blue check mark?
I mean, she has to.
Yeah, of course she does.
Okay, good.
The real Susan Lucci. I'm following her right now.
Oh my God, it's the best thing that you've
look
done
at this.
All day.
Followed by Mark Rosenberg. I wonder why that is.
Mutual friends.
Of course. Of course.
She should be doing Instagram lives. She should be like...
Oh yeah, well she's very, she's very health conscious now because of everything that happened last year. So she's spreading the good word about heart disease.
Oh, that's good.
And, doing her thing in quarantine right now.
Well, that's good. I'm glad to hear it.
I mean, what a hell of a house on Long Island to probably be in quarantine for.
I imagine that it's beautifully appointed. I imagine that it's very white.
A beautiful staircase.
Probably just has a very white kitchen.
I would hope that there's a beautiful staircase with a huge fucking painting of her at the top.
Yes.
Like circa 1984.
Larger than life. Fully like a 6 foot tall painting.
Has some adorable little Shih Tzus running around. What kind of dog does she have? I'm sure that you know.
I don't think she has a dog.
Really?
Gotta get her.
I might have missed that, but
or is it like a big fluffy white cat?
Ooh, I can see a white cat.
I don't know. I'll have to check in with her.
We'll join her fan club, her mailing list.
I followed her on her page. We're going to keep track of her.
Yes.
Oh, man. Do we have any final thoughts on Soapdish? I mean, this movie's incredible.
I mean, yeah, it's a hell of a cast. Still really entertaining. I can't believe that I hadn't watched this movie until like a year and a half ago. It's so funny.
I mean, you call yourself a gay.
I know.
Doing a terrible job.
It was just one of those weird blindsides that managed to get by me.
Yeah. I do have to say that in my younger years, when I did have like my like super queer movies on repeat, and I would just watch Steel Magnolias and Death Becomes Her just all the time, I really tried to integrate this into that loop, but it was a little busy for me.
Okay,
you know?
fair.
And I feel like I was I caught on a little too late, so I appreciated it. I understood that it was funny, but it wasn't something that I just inserted into my like heavy rotation. So
right.
I don't have like the quotes down, but it's like I fully understand that this movie is a gem. And because I do know Steel Magnolias so well, I'm so like well versed in like Sally in like that capacity and like her amazing crying ability and all that. Seeing this side of her is definitely very refreshing because in Steel Magnolias she's just so put upon. You know?
Yeah. Well, she's put upon in this in just a
this
funny
is true.
way.
Yeah, that's true. She is put upon,
you know?
but it's a lot lighter in that you're just able to laugh so much, like with her.
Right.
They would have been fun roles for her to play almost back to back too, because Steel Magnolias was 89 and this was 91.
Yeah.
So pretty close together.
Yeah.
So yeah, just kind of.
Yeah, I mean, like for me, even at age 10, loved soap operas. So this has always been full out in rotation for me forever and ever and ever. And I also just think it's so clever. It's so funny. The cast is so good. It's so like 90 minutes.
Yeah.
You cannot go wrong with a 90-minute film.
I hope that like Robert...
I fucking aged 12 years watching The Irishman.
Oh, I did. Oh, bitch! I didn't even.
Of the week over the
I
Irishman.
didn't even finish The Irishman. I think that I shut The Irishman off when Al Pacino was shot in the head, and then I was like, "Okay, I'm good."
I should be in charge of nominating for the Oscars.
Well,
I mean, this year
in that case, J-Lo would have won.
Versus like fucking Elizabeth Moss.
I mean, now it's like all the movies are getting pushed off the schedule, so Jim Carrey very well could win for Best Supporting Actor for Sonic.
So stupid.
Well,
we'll see. Fingers crossed.
God. No, all that prestige bullshit will find its way into theaters by Christmas.
Yeah, they'll figure it out.
Yeah,
we'll
be bored.
They're going to see a hole in that schedule.
Yes. Indeed.
Yeah. Well.
Oh my goodness.
Anything else?
I
think we covered it all.
Yeah, Soapdish is amazing. Like we've said several times in this episode, go watch it today. You'll thank us later if you haven't seen it. And if
honestly, with just the world being doom and gloom, if you just want to laugh and have fun and be silly for 90 minutes, it's one of the best movies to watch right now because it's just happy and funny and silly and charming and everyone is great and it's of a different time and it's it's so fun.
Yes, indeed. Wow, this was really fun.
Thanks for having me back.
Of course,
you guys
for coming on the show. Yeah, you too. Stay safe in New York. Stay inside. Wear a mask. Do all that good stuff.
Don't talk to anyone either because everyone's kind of trash. I've added that into my coronavirus.
Yeah, that's true.
Protection plan.
It is kind of nice that you can just say "get away from me" now to people, and it's like socially acceptable.
I was doing it for years.
Just to be like, ma'am, please just like keep about 7. But what's kind of fun about that at work is that even with customers now, we have to keep a distance. So I can fully step back when they like step towards me, and I'm not being like an asshole or anything. I can fully just keep them at like an arm and a half's length.
Yeah,
I should hope so.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I've been doing that for like ever, but I'm glad that everyone else is getting a clue.
like
a terrible.
like a true New Yorker. And it's nice that you're. I mean, kind of shitty circumstances now, but it's nice that you're back in New York because I always envision you as a New Yorker, a classic New Yorker, and it was nice to have you.
That's like a nice way of just calling me a cunt.
But it was
such an asshole.
It was nice.
Really well.
It was nice to have you on the West Coast, but you're just like a New Yorker at heart, Mark.
I mean, listen, I miss the weather. I miss the beach. I don't miss the trash people that live there, but
a lot of trash.
Traffic's a little better now.
Oh my God, I can imagine. It must take you no time to get to work right now.
Oh my goodness. Well,
but stay safe and be careful.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. We will. You
and
as
take
well.
care of yourselves and the cats. And
yes, indeed.
Stay inside and watch movies.
Thanks so much. Mark, where can our listeners find you if they would like to just be regaled by your hilarious commentary?
I mean, most of it is like fuck Trump commentary right now, so I don't know, if you're into that.
I think our listeners are into that.
Well, I feel like I can plug something for you. When I first was turned on to you, it was Blackouts and Breakdowns, and who is that book dedicated to, Mark? we talked about it earlier. Yeah. It's a really funny book. I think that you can get it pretty much anywhere that you can download ebooks, right?
Yes, and the other two you can get anywhere else.
Awesome.
Eating My Feelings, right? That was the other one?
Eating My Feelings, and This Made Me Think of You. Although Amazon is like slow right now, but if you want it, you'll get it eventually.
Very cool. Thank you so much.
Thank you guys. It was great to see you. I'm glad you're both healthy and doing well.
Likewise.
We'll talk to you soon.
Indeed. Listeners, you can also find us online. Our social media is at Movies That Made Us Gay on Instagram and Facebook, and we would love it if you would rate and review our
Give us 5
show.
stars.
Give us
Perfect
5 stars.
time to also.
Your Instagram is fabulous.
Thank you.
I love the podcast
it's fun.
Instagram. It's
Thank
great.
you so much. Yeah, now that you've got so much free time in your hands, listeners, go to iTunes and leave us a review.
We're doing it might be wrapping up around the time that this airs, but we're doing a Kirsten Dunst battle royale of her career that we're voting on our favorite Kirsten Dunst movies, and then we're going to review one at the end of the month for her birthday.
Oh, what are the choices?
So it's pretty much
everything.
Everything
it's
besides Drop Dead Gorgeous and Dick, which we have already done on the show.
Oh, bring it on.
Yeah, so
Done.
just
you have to vote.
Go to the Instagram.
You have to vote for it if you want to listen to it.
Check our stories, and the voting will be there. But by the time this episode is up, the voting will probably be closed.
We can also stagger it out, too.
Yes, indeed. Thanks so much.
Or you could just Bring It On.
Yeah,
we'll do it eventually, too.
We'll get there.
Anything that doesn't make it to the winning round, we'll eventually do, also.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed.
Oh, good. Well, I love the show. You guys are great.
Thank you.
The Instagram is so clever and cute. You guys are doing a great job with that.
Thanks so much, man. Thanks for coming on the show.
My pleasure. I'll talk to you guys soon.
Talk to you soon. Bye.
Bye.